Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Assembly Judiciary. Welcome to those watching online as well. With that, we'll go ahead and take attendance. Secretary, please take the roll.
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Assemblywoman Cohen. Assemblywoman Considine. Assemblywoman Gallant. Assemblyman Gray. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. Assemblywoman Marzola. Assemblywoman Mosca. Assemblywoman Newby. Assemblyman Orentlicker. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblyman Urick. Chair Miller.
Here, and please mark Assemblyman Orentlicker absent excused and Assemblywoman Gallant present when she arrives. With that, just again, a few housekeeping issues. Please make sure you're getting any materials in by 12 noon the day prior to your presentation so that they can be uploaded on Nellis. And again, just a reminder that I've been asked to remind folks not to approach the dais in the committee room. Also, please make sure you turn down anything that could possibly make noise during the hearing, like I'm turning down right now. You know, sometimes we hit those Zoom meetings after committee and we forget. So, with that, we also do have two committee bill introductions that we will begin with. The first one is BDR 41978, and it's providing for the establishment by the Nevada Gaming Commission of a list of persons whose interactive gaming accounts have been suspended or banned for cheating. With that, I will take a motion to submit the BDR. Motion. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. I have a second from Assemblyman Urick. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you, members. The next one is BDR 13302. And this is an act relating to guardianship and various provisions relating to a guardian ad litem, authorizing a protected person or proposed protected person to object to certain petitions. With that, I will go ahead and take a motion. Second. Okay, I have a motion from Assemblywoman Newby and a second from Assemblywoman Considine. Is there any discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, and that motion passes as well. Today on our agenda, we have one bill that we are going to hear, and so I will go ahead and open up the hearing for Assembly Bill 356. 356 relates to provisions relating to mobile tracking devices. It will be presented by Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch and Assemblywoman Dixon. And so the hearing's open. Whenever you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dickman. I want to make sure I have your name right. Thank you, sorry.
You could call me Dixon. My mother used to. So, good morning, committee members, Madam Chair. My name is Jill Dickman, and I represent Assembly District 31 here in Washoe County, and I appreciate this opportunity to come before you and present Assembly Bill 356.
And good morning, Chair, and to my colleagues. I am excited to be on the other side of the dais this morning. I am Selena LaRue Hatch, and I represent District 25 in Northwest Reno. And then we have a third co-presenter with us this morning.
Good morning, Chair. Serena Evans, Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence.
So Jill Dickman, for the record, to provide a bit of background on why I came to request this bill. As many of you know, recently a number of elected officials have been victims of a serious invasion of privacy, having been targets of unwarranted global positioning system tracker placement. They've had devices placed on their vehicles and some family members. In a time where threats and harassment of public officials and their families has become more common, the placement of these mobile tracking devices is a violation of privacy, but it also brings distress, fear, and potential danger to the victim. And although this issue has made headlines recently, it can impact anyone. Stalking-related incidents due to technology are on the rise. It's estimated that 14% of stalking victims were tracked with an electronic device. And so when I read about these incidents happening in Nevada, I was appalled to learn that it's not a crime. In this day of advancing technology and the low cost of new technologies, the use of these devices is becoming more and more prevalent. And this can easily happen to anyone. Tracking devices can remain active for months and even years without being detected.
And Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. I was also disturbed by these headlines, but I was more disturbed to learn that this wasn't a crime, because I think this is, for me, not just about the elected officials that were seen in the headlines, but the individuals that are victims of stalking and harassment and domestic violence. And it really concerned me that there really was no recourse for those victims. And as someone that's really concerned with privacy for all Nevadans, I asked to be a part of this. And I think it's really important that this is a bipartisan bill. It is sponsored by leadership in both parties. We are here presenting together because we think that this is an issue for all Nevadans. And so I would like to take a moment and just go through the bill. It is a short bill, which is a nice change of pace. But essentially, we have Section 1, which makes it a crime to install a mobile tracking device on the vehicle of someone without their knowledge and consent. And then you'll notice that there is an amendment that takes out B and C in Section 1, Sub 2. That's because we just wanted this to be a clean bill. We wanted it to just be about harassment, stalking, abuse. Those other things are covered in other NRS, which are cited in the amendment, and we can absolutely direct you to those if you want. But we wanted to make clear this is about installing mobile tracking devices without consent. It does not change existing law on fleets, leases, rental cars, or anything like that. This is the crime of tracking someone without their knowledge. And then I'll pass it to my colleague to talk about some recent headlines.
So I don't want to get into too many details of what happened to, but I think most of you are familiar what happened with Mayor Sheevy, Reno mayor. She had some problem with her car, and she took it into a mechanic, and the mechanic found this device. And I mean, she was horrified. She's a single woman, and I guess we can only guess what the reasons were, but she was running for election, and the people who were supporting her opponent, we believe, are who put on, and the mayor is pursuing civil litigation to find out who, for sure, who was behind it. But, and then Commissioner Von Hartung, through discovery and getting the data from the mayor's tracker, found that that tracker had also been on his vehicle. And they went into the details of that one to the point where they found when the person was in his driveway and put it on his car. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and that tracker was on his car for 7 months. But actually it turned out it was the wrong car. It was his wife's car that they put it on, and his daughter uses that car. They were followed to a baby shower because no one, they were trying to figure out who lived at this address, and then they remembered. So this is just, it's incredible what happened, and it can happen to any of us.
And Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. In addition to the headline news, we have Serena Evans with us today to talk about the everyday issues that are facing victims of harassment or domestic violence, and so I'll pass it to my colleague.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Serena Evans, for the record, Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. When I was asked to join and talk about this bill and the impact that it would have for victim survivors, I immediately reached out to our direct service providers statewide to hear about the effects that this bill would have directly on the clients that they serve. And as I sit before you today, I would like to share with you 3 of the horrifying stories that I received back. One system-based advocate shared that several years ago, she had a client whose case was not taken seriously because it seemed unlikely that she was being followed along with her minor children. Many times, she would find her perpetrator following her in the car, including out-of-area, non-routine car trips. Whenever the police were called, he disappeared. The victim survivor took the initiative to have her car searched for tracking devices. It took a diligent detective and specially trained police department tech personnel to find the tracker. When the perpetrator was finally arrested, multiple trackers were found inside the vehicle. This advocate shared that the significant trauma this victim survivor and their children experienced and how terrorized and unfortunately unbelieved they felt. Another executive director of a Southern Nevada program shared that a handful of victim survivors at their confidential shelter location have been found due to vehicle tracking devices. Another advocate shared that one abusive partner came to the shelter and took the victim survivor's vehicle because they had an extra set of keys, despite the title and ownership of the bill lying with the victim survivor. This particular victim survivor's job required traveling during their workday, and so by taking the car, this perpetrator was deliberately inflicting fear, asserting power and control, and sabotaging the victim survivor's employment and financial stability. These stories are just a few of many, but they're not uncommon. Abuse is founded on creating power and control, and perpetrators of domestic violence and stalking are particularly strategic and cunning. We believe that bills like this to intervene with predatory abusers' ability is necessary because perpetrators should not be allowed to keep tabs on their victim survivors.
So as you can see, Jill Dickman for the record, sorry. As you can see on this slide, 26 states have implemented laws to address this. A lot of them are tied to their stalking laws. And I find this appalling, especially when I hear those stories. But I think it's just past time for Nevada to join the other states that have begun prohibiting this placement of vehicle trackers in cars. And, you know, Commissioner Hartung was told that if his wife had taken her car into California, it would have been a felony. So, are you going to talk about the offenses, the consequences, or did you?
I did not. I failed to talk about that yet. Do you want to talk about it?
So we are starting with the first offense is a misdemeanor, the second offense is a gross misdemeanor, and the third offense is a Category C felony. I would have liked to see a little higher penalty because I'm not sure this is a misdemeanor is a deterrent, but.
And I think those are the punishments that came back from legal, but we are obviously open to the committee's discretion on what you think is appropriate. I think the importance here is we wanted to establish this as a crime because it's not in statute currently. And I think with that, we are open for questions.
Thank you so much. We do have a few questions. First one is from Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would this bill prohibit the parent of a child living in their home who may own their own car, regardless of age, prevent them from tracking that car? Because I can think of a lot of instances where I'd like to track my kid's car. Not really, for the record, just saying there's.
I have had that question come up before from parents. I would say that it says without the knowledge or consent. I think I, as a parent, would talk to my child about that so they know why I'm doing that and what the purpose is. Maybe that's not everyone's parenting style. I'm not sure if this would prohibit that, though. I think that would be a question for legal.
Clearly, you weren't my mother,
Yeah.
but I was like, what? Clearly, we have some different parents. And I'm sure that legal will respond to the question because, not to be cliche, my money, my rules, my house. But I think we can ask legal that specific question too, because in most cases, it is going to be the parent that's paying for the car. That car is in the parent's name, the insurance is in their name. So again, this is a completely different situation, just like children with their cell phones, right? There's certain parental securities we can put on our cell phones and on cable and most certainly our cars, but we can follow up on that as well. So, do you have a follow-up?
Not a question, I was going to say, I would also submit to you that if you got to put a tracker on your kid's car, they're probably not going to consent to it, or they will take it off.
Okay, so, let's see. Oh, okay. So what legal responded with is the crime is placing a device on someone else's motor vehicle. A parent could not place the tracker on an adult child's motor vehicle that is owned by the child. Again, try telling my mother that, but that's okay.
Thank you so much, Jill Dickman. Thank you for getting that clarification because that's how I understood it to work. But I'm not a lawyer, so.
Right, and I think that, yeah, that's pretty basic. So not an adult child's motor vehicle that they own, but obviously if the parent is still, again, I'm gonna call my mom after this and see how she, see what she thinks about that. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna make any difference for her, but our next question is from Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for bringing this bill. I agree. I was quite surprised following those stories you mentioned, and we all have a right to privacy, and it's quite disturbing that, this would happen. So my question is, would it apply to, I think you might have mentioned it, but would it be, say an elected official, anyone in their household, or if just anyone in general? Is it any vehicle that would be, that they put a tracking device that's, owned by the people in that home?
Yes, Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. So this is for everyone. Anyone who has a tracker applied to them without their knowledge or consent. So it doesn't have to be an elected official. It could be any member of any family. You can't apply a tracker to someone else's vehicle without their knowledge or consent.
And Jill Dickman for the record. The only reason the story of electeds has even come into this is because that's how we learned about this happening. It was just appalling. I mean, and we all wanted to go check our cars. So yeah, it would apply to everyone.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblywoman Cohen.
Thank you, and if I may have two?
Sure.
Thank you. And these are probably more for legal. In section 1, sub 1, I'm a little concerned, or I want to make sure that we're clear about the last couple of lines, the line 7, well, I guess starting on 6, or in the motor vehicle of another person without the knowledge and consent of the owner or lessor of the motor vehicle. And maybe Ms. Evans can talk to this as well as legal. When we're talking about people who are either in a domestic relationship or married, oftentimes the car is in both names or in one name, but the other person is using it. So do we have an issue with, spouse A technically owns the car, or it's in both names, or community property, so it doesn't matter whose name it's in, but spouse B is the one driving it? And how does this, would this law impact that?
Jill Dickman for the record. Unfortunately, no, I don't believe it would. So, and I'm not sure how we change that.
Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. I think obviously our intent is to protect victims, and you're right, they might not have their name on the vehicle. And so I would defer to legal if there's any clarifying language that we may need to add to protect that.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you. And then my next question would be about the penalty section. I want to make sure that when we're talking about offenses, that it doesn't have to be against the same person. So that if it's, you've tracked 3 different people, that are we still saying you're eligible, or does it just have to be, 3 offenses against one person? And is there a timeline if it's 3 offenses, but it's happened over 10 years, are you still eligible for the felony?
Jill Dickman, for the record. Well, my intent would be 3 issues, not just with the same person. But if we need language to clarify that.
Legal has already responded.
Oh, good.
So to that, like I said, you may not see him, but he is everywhere, right?
And all-knowing.
All-knowing. So, and he will be back with us after deadline. But to that specific question, it does not have to be the same victim, and there is no time limit. Okay? So that's to that specific question.
Oh, good. Thank you.
To the Assemblywoman's first question about marriage and the relationship, you were correct. It would not be prohibited under those marital circumstances. But again, if that's a desire to find language, we could talk about that later. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Our next question is from Assemblywoman Newby.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I understand that this bill deals with the tracking of a vehicle, but I understand that an even larger issue is the installation of tracking software on phones that can actually report to a stalker or abuser what transpires on the phone, the location of the phone, etc. And sometimes that software is not able to be detected by the owner or user of that phone. Is that something that you also have looked into, or can we hear a little bit more about provisions perhaps that you are aware of? And it's fine if you aren't aware of any, but about that situation.
Jill Dickman, for the record. I have not looked into that. For me, this was all about getting vehicle trackers as a crime in our statutes. But I agree with you that that is another issue. And Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, I don't know if you have any other ideas, but
Yeah,
I didn't want to complicate the bill too much.
Yeah, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, for the record. I agree. There's more work that needs to be done. We wanted to start with this because we felt like this was a pretty glaring hole in the statute that we needed to fill. I will say, I think both of us are privacy advocates. I have a data privacy bill coming. Assemblywoman Dickman has a data privacy bill. So those are topics that we are interested in and we are pursuing in other legislation.
Okay, Assemblywoman Constantine, did you still want to continue with your question? Okay, thank you. With that, there may be another question coming in, but we'll return for a second round of question to Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the intent of this bill. I'm just kind of worried that we're maybe throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And what if somebody's conducting a legitimate, maybe cold case investigation or something where they don't feel law enforcement, is doing it, and the family's hired a private investigator to track the movements of a, potential suspect, hoping they'll lead them to some evidence or something along those lines. I mean, we all see the true crime stuff on TV these days, and it's 1 in a million, but it is a tool that is used.
Jill Dickman, for the record, and thanks for that question. What I would say is they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, because private investigators are people who have really abused this, along with, people in victimizing. But yeah, I mean, we did it before there was tracking devices, and that would just be my opinion on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, as you see, there is a provision to carve out law enforcement, right, in their legal pursuits. The cases that we mentioned with our local Washoe County officials, that was a private investigator that was hired to do that. And so that is our concern, is that private investigators are being hired to track individuals without their consent and knowledge. And so while I think your question is coming from a good place, I think that they have been abused, as my colleague said, and so that's our concern.
Thank you. And again, it does state right there in the bill, law enforcement, of course, with a warrant or court order, of course, they can legally do that. Any other questions, members? Not seeing any. I will go ahead and open it up for testimony on Assembly Bill 356, if there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support.
Good morning, committee. My name is Julia Villalpando, and I am a part of the team at Tu Casa Latina, a UNR Bachelor's in Social Work student intern collaborating with the Nevada Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence in support of Assembly Bill 356. At Tu Casa Latina, we work with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. The cases that come across our door are victims that have been followed by their perpetrators or stalkers. They are terrified. These survivors do not know or understand that they have a right to their privacy. Comments such as, "I don't know how he, she found me," "I can't hide, he, she finds me no matter where I am at," are all too common. Survivors are led to believe that no one will believe them, and in some cases, that may be true. Comments such as, "You are overthinking things," or "You are just imagining things," can add to the trauma our survivors are already trying to process. In addition, most of the survivors that Tu Casa Latina assists are part of our underserved and undocumented community, already experiencing other forms of trauma and issues of equity. Allowing the installing, concealing, or otherwise placing of a mobile tracking device to follow, monitor, stalk, or harass another person not only adds to the trauma victims or survivors are already living and experiencing, it also provides their perpetrators and abusers the power to use their undocumented status as a threat and manipulation tool to not report the abuse or crime because they have the power to locate them no matter where they go. I thank you for your time and for listening to what we have to share with you as we continue to provide a voice for our community. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Adam Cade on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association in support of the bill. We did have one little minor issue just reading the language.
Okay.
I promise.
But are you in support?
Yes.
Then you have no minor issues.
No, we spoke with the presenters and they are in agreement with us.
So that's in the past, and it's
Yes.
going to be worked on, and
Yes, I
we're
just
not
wanted to-
discussing. So I just need to hear you're in support of the whole
In sort of the support of the
100
whole bill.
100%
They
of
just
whatever
didn't
you agreed
discuss
on.
what it was, and so I just wanted to just bring it to your
Are you
attention.
talking about the amendment?
Yes. but
Okay. We've got the amendment. So you're back to 100%, right?
It's a slightly different amendment from the one that you guys have.
Okay, so are you in support of the bill
Yes.
as it's presented?
Yes, with the suggestion that we've made. But I understand your position, but we are in support of the idea in the
Right.
bill.
Okay, we'll put that as support.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City in support? All right, the phone line today is 1-888-475-4499, and the meeting ID is 85251-092959. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the line that would like to testify in support?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 356, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, this is Casey Rogers for the record. I am in support of this bill. I don't think you should be tracking anybody at any time for COVID or anything else. So I am in support of this bill, just letting you know. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you still there? I just wanted to get the spelling of her name. I know Rogers is spelled. Not sure if we got it, but that's okay.
Hello?
Oh, are you still there? Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Can you spell your name for the record, please?
Yes, I'm still here. CASEYRODGERS.
Thank you so much. Next
Thank you.
Next caller?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 356, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no other callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I will open it up for anyone in opposition of Assembly Bill 356. If there's anyone here in Carson City that is testifying in opposition? Not seeing anyone approach. Is there anyone broadcasting on the lines?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 356, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Legislature and Madam Chairwoman. I'm not sure if I should be calling this an opposition or neutrality, because while I do like AB 356, my name is Leslie Quinn, AB 356, the sections B and C, I don't think they should be in there. So I'm not sure how you want me to present,
Right.
neutral or opposition.
So ma'am, that had already been amended out this morning. Those two sections you're referring to?
Oh, B and C?
Yes. So with those.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. So then with those out, are you in support or opposition? We're in opposition actually right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I know it's tricky.
Yes, I was
calling
in opposition to B and C. Thank you. Yeah, it's just there's so much to follow, and I'm trying the best I can to read everything that's on there. So I definitely support not being tracked, but I do understand there are times when it needs to happen. So as long as B and C are gone, then I thought that it was already happening at the police level with the court order. So I just wasn't sure why legislature would need to be put in place. That is it maybe not just clear enough at this point? I don't know. So, but I would support not being tracked definitely.
So then you're.
So I'm sorry, called in on opposition.
No, I know it's tricky.
So
on the
I
phone.
would support AB. Yeah.
Okay,
I support AB 356 if it's only giving court and police officers. But I did oppose the B and C. But you said you took it out. So thank you for clarifying that, and appreciate you taking the time to explain that to me.
You're welcome, and we'll put your testimony in support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next caller.
Chair, there are no other callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, then I will open it up for anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in neutral. Not seeing anyone. I will open up broadcasting. Is there anyone on the line that would like to testify in neutral?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 356, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll close testimony and welcome our bill sponsors back up.
Thank you, Chair Miller, and thank you, members of the committee, for taking the time to hear this bill. I urge your support. The right to privacy is fundamental, and this helps us move us further down that road of keeping our privacy. So thank you. I appreciate you.
And Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. I will just echo my colleague and thank you all for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. And Assemblywoman Dickman, thank you so much for bringing this forward. And Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, thank you for joining her in presenting it as well. Thank you both. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 356. The last item on our agenda today is public comment. So if there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to make public comment, not seeing anyone? Broadcasting, is there anyone on the line that would like to make public comment?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you so much for that. With that, I will go ahead and close public comment and just, I guess we have a little extra time this morning to get everything else done. I will go ahead and adjourn today's meeting and see you all back tomorrow at 9 a.m. This meeting is adjourned.